Hello once again, losers and losettes. Today, we are doing a wine tier list, and now you will sit there and you will sit in silence and you will appreciate my knowledge of wine as I rate these wines. You may see some wines here that you do not recognize, others you may recognize. You also may be thinking, oh, where's this other wine? I don't care. The wines I've mentioned here are the only ones I care about today. They're the only ones I'm speaking about, and they're the only ones that I am rating. So deal with it. I have here color-coded things, and there's also the scale. So obviously the top one is Nectar of the Gods, meaning it is the best wine. Very cool, because it's a very cool wine. All right, because it's okay, but it's not the best. There is No, and the reason it's called No is because if someone offered it to me, I would say no. And there is Trash, which is trash that should just never be drunk under no circumstances. Down here, we have color codes. So if it is white background, that means it's a white wine. Red background means it's a red wine. And there's pink for this, and there's yellow for this. Now, you may also see here that there's only a few white wines. There aren't very many there. That's because red wine is better than white wine, and I don't care enough about white wine to add that many more here. So you're just going to have to put up with that and accept the fact that I'm right and that no one else's opinion matters. So we're going to start off with the best wine that there is. That would be Amarone. Nectar of the Gods, folks. Amarone is the best wine ever. I don't care what anyone says. It is the prince of wines. It is the best, most delicious wine. And you know what? I have the proof of it. And the proof is my wine. And the proof is my wine app, Vivino. When I go on here, when I go to my profile, my taste profile on this app for my wine, my top rated wine is Amarone. It's fantastic. And now coming away from Amarone, we're just going a little bit down to Rapaso, which is very cool. And if you're not aware, Rapaso was actually made using the same grapes, basically, as the Amarone. Basically, it's the best grapes of the bunch go to make the Amarone wine, and like the leftover, the stuff that's not quite as good, goes to make the Rapaso. So it's like it's a baby Amarone is what it's often called. There's a little bit of knowledge for you. Next up, we have Rosy wine. And now Rosy wine, that is trash. You should not drink it under any circumstances. Rosy wine is something that indecisive, terrible people drink. People who can't decide, should I have red, should I have white? If you're one of those people, drink nothing because you deserve nothing. Okay? You don't just drink rosy because you decide you can't decide if you want white or if you want red. Make up your damn mind or go without. When you can't decide between cheesecake or chocolate cake for a dessert, do you buy both of these things and just mesh them together on one plate? Of course not. That's basically what people are thinking when they drink rosy wine, so just don't do it. Sparkling wine, it's a no. It's just a no. It's not quite trash, even though it tastes trash. It's not quite trash because it has its purposes for celebrations. For some dumb reason, people like to use it as a celebratory drink. And okay, at least it has that use. But other than that, it would be in the trash. That goes for champagne, that goes for Prosecco, that goes for Cava, that goes for any sort of sparkling wine. Next up, we have Soave. Soave is a very cool wine. I very much enjoy Soave. But next up we have White Rioja. White Rioja is a no from me. I do not enjoy White Rioja wines. As far as red Rioja goes, that's something that goes in the alright category. It could easily go in no or very cool depending on the wine. I'm very hit or miss when it comes to Rioja personally. I like a lot of them. I also really hate a lot of them. To go back to my Vivino app, to go back to my wine app, when I look at my ratings on there, it is probably the wine that I have tried the most different bottles of wine of. I've tried maybe like 40 of them. But it's the one that's got the most fluctuating of all the ratings. It's like you go back to Amarone. Amarone I consistently rate high at like 4.5 stars, between 4 and 5 stars. Whereas Rioja, I rate them across the board, from all the way from 1 to 5. I rate them all the way across the board. Whereas something like an Amarone, I consistently rate it high. And that's why Rioja for me has to sit in this alright category. Because I can't say it's amazing, because I have had some amazing ones, but I've also had a lot of really, really bad ones that I really don't like. So it has to sit in the middle. Malbec is largely the same for me, but it's better. Malbec is better than Rioja. You know, if I had another category here, if I had something between very cool and alright, I'd put the Malbec in there. It almost deserves to be in the middle here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to arrange it so that it's in front of the Rioja. So these are actually in an order, okay? So even though it's on the same line, the one that's on the left is better than the one that is on the right. Keep that in mind. And I'm also going to put Gavi in the alright category, but I'm actually going to put Gavi ahead of both of these, Malbec and Rioja, because Gavi is a very good wine, but is not quite in the same level as Rapaso or Suave for me. Shiraz, I would put that after Malbec, but before Rioja. And Primitivo, I love Primitivo. That can go up here in very cool, although it's going in the lower end of very cool because, again, this is a wine that I've had some mixed experiences with. You get some Primitivos that are a little bit heavier than others, and the ones that are a bit more full-bodied, the ones that are a bit heavier are the ones I enjoy. The lighter ones I'm not quite as keen on. So I'm putting this at the bottom end of very cool. Next up we have Chardonnay, and Chardonnay is something that I would probably say no to if you offered me it, but it's going to be above sparkling and also Rioja. I could probably just cope with it, but it's still something that if you say, hey, do you want a glass of Chardonnay? I'm going to say no. And finally, we have Merlot, and now Merlot is where I'm also going to put in the no category, but I'm going to put that even ahead of Chardonnay. So Merlot and Chardonnay are both wines that I can cope with, and at times I can enjoy, but usually they're not something that I would choose to drink, okay? And so this is my wine tier list for the time being. Maybe in the future I'll make a more specific wine tier list with actual wines, proper bottles and vintages and all the rest of it, but for now, we're just going with these types of wines, such as Amarone, Rapaso, Suave, Primitivo, Gavi, Malbec, Shiraz, Rioja, Merlot, Chardonnay, Sparkling, Rioja, and Rosé. Anyway, hopefully you learned the true hierarchy of wines here. Hopefully you learned something. And folks, if you enjoy wine, go check out the Vivino app. No, they do not sponsor me, but they should. They should. Until next time, goodbye, losers and losettes.